Four months ago, no one would have told us that we'd be spending our times at home while the world was still turning outside, a virus shaking all we had known so far. No one had prepared us all for what was yet to come. During these past months, we have done many things, but most of them at home. However, what we have done the most, as it is what we always do in high school, is learning. However, learning can be done in many ways. And that's why we thought we would have liked to know then what we know now. So, if we could talk to our past selves, what would we say? Students and teachers from the British Project Program at ES Alcáceres share our experiences.
If I could talk to myself in March, I would tell to him that I need to relax, man. Just stop thinking about work, and maybe spend a little time with your friends and find the balance between work and relaxing.
If I could talk now to my before-the-confinement self, I would like to say not to stress with the homeworks. Don't worry, it's okay. I can support it. Be responsible as you are. Enjoy even if you think it's impossible. I think it's all.
Well, what I would tell myself if I could talk to my pre-confinement self. I would tell myself that life can be surprising and that there are things that we take for granted that they may not be there tomorrow. Those tiny little things that are important for everyday life.
If I could speak now to my before-the-confinement self, I could tell me that everything was going to be fine in the future, even though I was going to spend so many months at home and work really hard in order to keep up to date with all the high school tasks. Although a lot of people was going to pass away during this pandemic, all the members of my family were going to be really well after it. A positive thing I could say to myself is that the environment was going to recover a bit from all the damage humans have done to it. I would recommend me to keep calling the moments of uncertainty and keep in mind some of the positive things I can get from the lockdown and all the new things I was going to learn. I could finally tell me that we were going to be able to go out eventually and that we were going to enjoy the summer holidays almost as usual.
If I could speak to myself in March, I would say that I should take advantage of the time that I'm going to spend at home to be more time with my family and to try new things and also to use time wisely in the studies to have more free time.
Hi, I'm Paula Maestre from 4th A. If I could speak to myself in March, I would advise myself that I need to stay calm and face my problems without getting so much anxiety, because at the end, I'm going to be okay and happier.
I don't have anything to tell clearly, but if I need to tell something, is that you need to organize it better, don't be vague, and have more patience.
If I could talk with me in March, I will say to me that all is going to be okay. The first weeks are going to be very hard, but then I will copy it very well, the lockdown.
If I could talk to my before confinement self, I would say to her not to be very stressful with the homeworks, tasks, or exercise that she has. There are more important things than the studies.
Hi, me from the past. Since I can tell you something, I want to tell you that you have learned to value things that you did not value before the quarantine, and you have learned to organize yourself in some things that you were not capacitated to do that before. You have also learned that not everything in life is rose color, and I remember the night before you go to class last day before quarantine that you were crying because you were afraid of that might happen to your loved ones, that you have learned to put stress aside, and you have thrown it forward, and I really thank you for that.
Well, what do you tell yourself? Well, if I could speak to myself in March, I have said I will do that. First, everything is going to be okay. Well, you don't have to be worried. But however, I know you're a kind of person. You are not worried about that situation just because you know that you are going to be responsible and you are not going to bring sadness or sorrow to any people. You will eat only your own sorrow, but everything is going to be okay because you are responsible. You can do anything you propose, but remember, being here in these four walls is not like holidays. You are not going to want no people sending task. Your own mom is going to kill you doing your task. You are going to clean more dust that you cleaned in your last 3 years. You're going to cook more than you has been cooking 5 years, but it's going to be okay. You are going to be with your mom. You are going to have almost like new holidays, but with task. Is such winter holidays at 3rd of primary. Did you remember they were with a lot of task? Well, do you have to remember you are a person that you like being at home? For you, the problem is not being outside. For you, the problem is going to be then coming again to the outside. I say you. In my opinion, we don't have to go away at any time, but you have to meet friends. You have to speak with them because the relationships are very important. So well, I hope you take this for you, and I hope you are going to take note of this.
Hi. First thing I wanted to do is to thank my teachers for the effort, their support, and all the initiatives they've come up with in order to liven up our lockdown. And I've also been thinking about the advice that I would give to my before the confinement self, and I've come up at the conclusion that I've learned a lot. That Andrea would be pleased if someone had told her to make the most of her time, because once everything's over, she would realize that time flies and that she didn't do as many things or as much as she was planning to. Then Something I would definitely highlight if I could speak to myself would be to look on the bright side of every situation. There's a sentence that I reckon that we should all apply to ourselves, and my mom has repeated to me on several occasions, and it's the following one. If you cry because you can't see the sun, tears won't let you see the stars. And this advice is pretty related to the following one, to the next one I would give to myself, which is not to lose your smile despite negative moments. And I'm sure that had I known that, I would have saved many tears this quarantine. And last but not least, I would tell myself to learn from anything, absolutely anything. For example, although I should recognize that I was very organized and disciplined, having to follow a strict routine at home and having to keep up with online classes has taught me a lot. But needless to say that learning from mistakes and learning by yourself is very positive, so that's what we should do. And another thing I wanted to mention is that this is not the way I imagined my school year would finish. I would love to say goodbye to my teachers properly. I would love to hug them because of their job and because they've been amazing. It's been great to share these months. I'm not gonna say year because it hasn't been a complete year, but they've been marvelous months with them. I would love to say that I'm not going to be at the IES Alcáceres because I would be during my year in the US, but that's not the case. But that's life, and as I mentioned before, just focus on the bright side and learn from everything. And again, thank you very much.
If I could talk to myself before the confinement, I would tell me to wear long socks all night to prevent from getting cold, and not to obsess with the homework and enjoy more the weekends.
If right now I had the opportunity to go back in time and talk to myself in March before the quarantine, I think one of the first things I would tell her would be to keep everything to date, because it's true that I've had this problem quite a lot during the quarantine of leaving things for the last day and getting stressed last minute. And I think that was really dumb on my part. So I would advise her to make a schedule and get everything done on time with days to spare. And also, I would tell her to not lose her cool, so to speak, because I think I've had my ups and downs when it comes to my mood during this quarantine, obviously. So I think I would also tell her to take a break every once in a while, make time to take breaks and such. And also make time for more creative projects and more things I wanted to do other than homework, but mainly that.
If I could speak to myself in March, I will tell me 3 things. The first one would be go to your village to visit your granddad, hug him really strong and tell him that you love him for the last time. And then assume that there are some things that you cannot change because they do not depend on you, and that life is not fair. So you have to try to live to the maximum every single day. Then I would tell myself that quarantine is coming and that global pandemics do not only occur in films, and that uncertain times are coming. We have been under lockdown for more than 80 days and we still don't know what is going to happen in a few weeks, even in a few days. And that I have to be strong. And not only because of me, but because of my family and the people who really care about me. Because if they notice you bad or a little bit down, this difficult situation is going to get even harder for them. So just keep strong. I mean, you can do it. This is going to come to an end at the end of the day, and I don't know when, but everything must come to an end. And well, you have to stop having your daily mental breakdown if you don't want to go through the window in the second day of quarantine. And the last thing would be that, well, school is going to finish sooner than you expected, and you are going to be taking online classes, and it's going to be like a real mess because the Wi-Fi is not working, or oh my god, let me the computer, and it's going to be really difficult, at least the first week, but then you are going to get used to it. And also that your plans for the next scholar year are going to be cancelled because of the coronavirus, and the scholarships that you have been fighting for many years is not going to be possible. But you have to assume it. I mean, with this difficult situation, you are going to realize that the most important things are your family and your friends, and spending quality time with them, and not going to the United States to study for 1 year or things like that. Because when you lose someone, that person is not going to come back. But for example, going to study abroad, if you cannot do it next year, you are going to be able to do it in the future. So stay strong and keep in mind that this is going to come to an end.
Hello, I am Adrián, and I'm going to think about what would I tell to myself at the beginning of the COVID outbreak in March. So the first thing that I would tell myself is to not try to think about the end and all of the consequences that this problem might carry, but to try to find like a reliable way of entertainment during the confinement in my home, so that I could be better off from the beginning. The second thing would be to be positive, but not to be ignorant, because it's obvious that COVID needs to be treated as a very serious issue, but we don't need to worry that much. I mean, things like this have already happened in history, and we will go on and we will forget about it eventually. And the last thing that I would tell myself would be to organize, because at the beginning of the COVID outbreak, when I was at home doing my homework, I didn't organize a lot. I kept the things that I did all over my desk, and I think that made me lose a lot of time. Well, that was all. Thanks for listening.
Hello, I'm Carlos. If I could speak to myself in March, I said to myself, you have to be prepared to that horrible virus and that horrible stage that awaits you ahead. You have to be strong for that. You have to think all good things that pass for your head, and you have to be like another person with a good brain and good thinkings. You have to change your chip and think all the good things that happen in all your life, and remember it only this, and it's only say, Carlos, you are going to get a bad RAM, but you are going to get out of it even harder and more harder, only this. And I think that this is all.
Hi, I'm Nadia, and I'm going to talk about what I will tell to myself before the confinement. If I could talk to myself before the confinement, I will say that I need to have patience because we are going to be under lockdown for a long time. And although this is a difficult situation, try to find something that makes me happy. Also to try to spend time with your family because this is a good option to be with your family, and make a new routine for all the months we are at home and another routine for when we could go out. In general, I will say relax, be patient and be strong.
If I could speak to myself in March, I would tell myself to take life more calmly instead of being overwhelmed by everything, and things would be better. Another thing I would say to me would be to enjoy things more. I mean, the people around me, the things I do because I like them, my family or my friends, because they are the ones who will always be there.
If I could speak to myself in March, I will say to myself to make the most of my time as possible with my family and friends, and to give them many more kisses and hugs, because in a few time to give a kiss or a hug without risks will be a privilege. I will also tell me that they were going to come very difficult times, both school and social, and that with desire and dedication everything can be achieved without any difficulties. Finally, I will remind myself all the cool moments that I lived with my friends and family before the quarantine, and I will say to myself to remember all of them every day, because that is what is going to keep me strong and what is going to help me to support this hell. And it's going to make me want to go outside and repeat all of them.
If I could speak to myself in March, I would advise me to value the time spent with my friends and my family, because sometimes we don't appreciate the people and we don't enjoy the moments. I could say to myself to relax and keep calm because the situation is very difficult and stressful. During the quarantine, we have had a lot of time, so I could learn many new things, while in normal daily life, I don't have time to do it.
If I could talk to myself in March, I would definitely tell me not to stress out. There's time for everything, and you don't need to do everything just because you're at home. You also need to relax, because if you don't relax, you will get sick.
Hi, it's me. I mean, you. Oh well, this is a bit confusing, I know. I am your future you. I'm here to tell you that soon things are going to get tough worldwide. Here I go. We're going to survive a pandemic. I am serious. This is not a dystopia. but a real future-ranking news. Sit up and take a deep, deep breath. You are going to be locked down, and therefore you will need to work from home. In this respect, things are going to change really fast for teachers and students. I can tell you now, this is going to be extremely stressful. For that reason, maybe you would like to reset up your top priorities before the uncertain times that are about to come. So, keep it up, smile daily. It will feel good. It will make your loved ones feel good too during the confinement. Stay strong and love each other well. And when you're out in the streets again, everything will look utterly different. And people will be wearing face masks everywhere. Believe me, washing your hands every 30 minutes or so will be a new routine. But there is one single thing that the coronavirus pandemic is not going to be able to change at all, and that is the love and respect for your job and your students and your fellow teachers. So in the end, everything is going to be just fine. Take a deep breath again and hold on tight.
If I could talk to my before the confinement self now, I would say lots of things, like to wash my hands frequently, to take care of myself, to be careful with what I touch, to stop thinking about the future and to relax.